you feel about this matchup?
This is one of those tit-for-tat matchups. You could call it a race. You can call it like I'm going to hit you, you're going to hit me, back and forth, back and forth. I don't like the term race for this as much unless they don't run Null Rune, in which case it has to become a race, and that's exactly what we see here. There's no Arcane Barrier on the board, which means if there's no Arcane Barrier on the board, the only way to stop arcane damage is through Crown of Seeds, and you have to have an arsenal for that. So in other words, this is a pure race scenario. Now, if the Starvo player has Null Rune equipment, then this becomes a much more back and forth matchup. But right now, literally, you just like lick your chops and find a bunch of red stuff as Alexander Vore.
What does it feel like to be a Kano player and sit across from someone with 0 Arcane Barrier, especially someone who used like Starvo, who, you know, as soon as the last season that we had usually 3 to 4 different equipments that could interact with Arcane Barrier?
Well, I'll just put it this way. You know that like that moment in like anime where like the main character is like getting beaten up, but then through the power of friendship they summon the will to live within, and they just do that like half smile. The camera's facing down, the half smile comes out, and then like supercharge, and then they go just like destroy everyone. That's Kano when no arcane barriers on the table. They just like power to win, and they just go for it. Yeah, it's Kamehameha is what it is.
Okay, that one I get. I actually know that's where they go Super Saiyan, right?
There you go. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's Dragon Ball Z.
I'm old. I'm very aware.
You should know this then. You should come on, like old school Dragon Ball, man. That's exactly what it's like.
All right, back to Flesh and Blood. It does look like we're going to have a giant crippling crush is going to start the game off here for our Starvo player. Get through. It looks like a little bit of damage. Alexander, it looks like a lot more damage if you're not used to a Kano matchup. They do start at 30. So 5 is going to go ahead and leak through.
Now, can you imagine if Kano started at 40 in this current scenario?
I don't think it would have survived.
This would be all Kano mirror matches. And
right.
I just want to say this. If you want a head scratcher, play a Kano mirror match. That is a head scratcher right there. So he's going to pitch the Eye of Ophidia to use Kano's ability. He's going to start by resolving Eye of Ophidia's effect, so opting 2, which means that when he Kanos off the top, he's actually going to know what he's accessing. So he can swap whatever card he wants on the top there. He could also just choose to bottom. He's going to grab the Tome of Fiendal, and because it's a non-attack, Kano says that you can play it at instant speed, not using an action point. And oh, by the way, both cards that he grabbed were both absolute bombs. One of them draws you 2 cards. The other one can, if it hits, go and fetch you any card in the deck. So in other words, at this point, he can throw the Lesson in Lava, and it's always going to hit because the opponent can't stop the arcane damage. He can put whatever he wants on top of the deck, then he can draw it and another card with Tome. Instead, he's choosing to start by drawing 2 cards, which is totally fine as well, and then set the top of his deck. If he draws into 2 blues here, set the top, play Lesson, after playing Lesson and hitting, and then get whatever he wants.
Now, I might be going a little too crazy here. Is there any way he could get a lethal this turn?
Oh yeah. This is you can do weird, crazy, impossible things with Kano. Now it would be a lot harder because this is his turn. But if you're looking for a lethal here on your opponent's turn, there are some very dirty, scary things that you can do with Aether Wildfire. Here you can still get it if you like got some crazy stuff in the deck. But, yeah.
It does look like he's going to Lesson in Lava just for 3 here, I believe.
Yeah, there's no need to Crucible this. Normally you have to Crucible Lesson in Lava because your opponent plays AB3, which is Arcane Barrier, so they'd be able to stop 3 arcane damage. But when your opponent doesn't play any AB at all, and they have 1 Crown of Seeds, and they didn't Arsenal a card, you have carte blanche. So just fire away, and he goes and gets a Blazing, puts that on top.
Yeah, this is Blazing Aether is going to be added to the top.
And I'm curious, if Blazing here... If he's just playing this for the sort of median value of like 3, that seems a bit suspicious. So I'm assuming he's just shuffling. He's going to present the deck, of course, set that on top, banish it, and then continue to play stuff from hand.
Let's say there's got to probably be something else here, right?
I don't actually think he's used his action point either, which is the crazy thing. Here comes the Crucible. He's floating 1, it would look like, so Crucible into whatever from hand. Oh, my God. He's got the Aether Spindle. So he Crucible Aether Spindles. If he hasn't opted enough already on turn 2 of the game, it's going to hit. He's going to look at 5 cards. He's going to set them however he wants, and then he's going to deal, 3 3 plus 5 is 8 in addition with the Blazing Aether.
We should definitely label this round as not safe for work because this is going to be a little inappropriate. The amount of damage is going to be unstopped this round.
Yeah, and at this moment, the Kano player has a life lead. It's turn 2, and Kano starts at a 10 life deficit, and Kano should be 5 ahead. Yes, he is.
Yeah, it looks like down to 20 for Stewart over here with Starvo. Now, I'm trying to wonder, is there something he could do to get himself back into this match, or is it, I don't want to say it's hopeless, but it's looking pretty bad with having no Arcane Barrier here.
Well, I mean, he already drew and played a Crippling Crush. Something like this, a Spinal. Basically, throwing big attacks is kind of his thing. If he can string together, like, and I don't know if he teched this into his deck, but you can see he does have Time Skippers. So if he can string together smaller attacks that either have Go Again, or if he cracks Time Skippers and pushes, like, Zealous Belting plus something else, then he could put together a lot of damage on one turn. But if you can't play around arcane damage, and you're looking at one of the best wizard players in the game, your chances are slim. And especially when off the top of the deck, just for a casual Kano, they reveal and banish a Tome of Aetherwind.
A Tome, another big card that's important here. It looks like it's going to be a Tome for, I'm assuming, draw 2.
Yes, yeah, I have in fringe cases actually chosen like draw 1, buff by 1. This is a card that gives you 2 modes. You can either buff arcane damage on the next card you play or draw a card. Almost always it ends up being draw 2 because if you draw blues, then you can play more stuff off of the Kano trigger. But on weird ancillary cases, you can actually play this card, choose like buff 2, and then play Wildfire for like a casual 6, and then make your opponent get lit on fire and win the game, and maybe do like a victory lap around the room.
I think the victory lap already happened when he saw there was no Arcane Barrier.
You feel that way sometimes,
yeah.
But you do have to respect the old Starvo activation, especially if they can land some like dominated Oakenolds.
It does look like we're going to activate here. And then this is that
yeah,
a
he's
Reverberate?
playing a red Reverberate for
right.
4. This will hit, which means anything in his hand with resource cost equal to or less than what this hits for can be played from his hand at instant speed. Oh my God. It's
another Tome.
Tome of Aetherwind number 2. Choosing the modes of what? Draw 2? Or
yeah, it looks like it's going to be draw 2.
Yeah, draw 2 seems good. And again, actually we should know this. He's opted all of these cards, basically, because he hit with an Aether Spindle for 5. So he knew most of these cards actually existed in that order and drew several of them. So literally the world is his oyster here. He's at 16. He's playing, his opponent has the ability to block like 1. This is still Stewart's second turn. I think it's his second turn of the game.
Yeah, he's attacked twice, yeah.
Yeah. It's the second turn of the game. This is at the end of Stewart's turn.
I am just in awe of what's happening here, by the way.
This is the danger. Okay, look. This game looks ridiculous, right? Do we both agree?
Agreed.
This game looks ridiculous. But it looks ridiculous because there is no counterplay brought by Starvo in order to stop any of this. And that's the problem. And that's why this is such a good deck to pick. If you feel like no one's going to be able to stop your damage, and you can do tricky stuff like this, you can just, like, push through.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been seeing it. You know, we saw the Arsenal Pass guys were doing this today. A few other people as well are talking about they thought this was a really, really good choice.
Oh, my God.
So it looks like we got an activation of the boots here.
Storm Striders into another lesson in lava. Yeah. And again, he's got a blue in hand, so he could set anything on top. If he goes Blazing, he probably just wins here.
Yeah, I think there is a Blazing set aside.
He's already banished a Blazing. Yeah, if there's another Blazing, he may have enough. He does Crown of Seeds here, but this is still going to connect for 2.
So damage does come through. Alexander's going to get to search his deck here for something 2 or less. And there's the second Blazing, and like you said, is this actually just lethal? How much damage has Stewart taken this turn?
I think he's only taken 6, so this pushes 12 and puts him at 2. But honestly, if you're at 2 and your wizard opponent is going to be like full grip, then you're not looking good. Now he did Storm Striders. He did remove Storm Striders, so he has to find all lethal off the top. But I think this leaves him at 2 unless I miscounted. Oh, yep, that's 6. Stewart takes 6. There's 6. Oh,
Yeah,
actually, no, because it's stacks.
it counts
I forgot.
it, right?
Yeah, it counts it. Yeah, that just pushes it
Yeah.
because it pushes it to 12. Silly me. So that existed. Welcome back to the booth.